to the gonna get into the show. I hope that worked. Oh well. I don't even know. That's okay. We're testing it out here on Facebook. All right, you guys, I'm actually gonna get started. I took a couple weeks off because I needed a break and I was going through some things that were stretching me and growing me and help causing me to reform my identity a little bit. Because sometimes we show up in life and we put our best foot forward and all of our best intentions, and it doesn't go exactly as planned, right? Right. And so for me, I was having a difficult into the summer because the person that I thought that I was based on my role in someone else's life was not actually who I was meant to be. And while I'm still a big part of this person's life, I'm not responsible for them, and they are responsible for themselves. And if they want to make decisions that aren't in their best interests, I don't need to hold on to that. So I took a few weeks off to just enjoy the rest of my summer and recalibrate and see where it was I wanted to have this show land. And one of my biggest goals for this show was to be live on Facebook in the mornings. Now, I don't know that I will be doing it every single day, but I definitely am going to be showing up on Sundays to give a good word. The entire goal of this show, Rise and Shine with Morning Moon, was to it was to create a good word for people. Back last year, I think it was, my friend's son committed suicide, and having gone through suicide loss, and he was only 18. Such a sweet boy, and I watched him grow up online. I never actually got to meet him in person, but my friend and I went to high school together, and we were good friends in high school. And I don't get to visit my home state very often, and she had since moved on to another area. And so I didn't get to meet her boy. And when I heard the story of his passing, that made me really sad because I'd always wanted to meet him with her and have lunch and hang out, but it just never got to happen. And so I have gone through my own losses, as most of you know who have watched me um, and who know me. I've gone through a lot of grief and loss, and my own brother committed suicide. So my friend losing her son really shook something in me that I wanted to show up and give a good word every day. And that is why Morning Moon was born. And that is what the purpose of this show is to show up and give some hope and give some good advice of how you can get through the storms of life, how you can navigate those seasons of just deep grief and deep chaos. And for me, I was only ever able to navigate the storms that I went through, and I'm telling you what, I've been through a lot. And if you know me, you know that. But if you're new here, you don't know, and you can watch my story on YouTube. But if you know me, you know that I have gone through a lot in my life, and I have had to learn how to navigate some really difficult seasons and some really, really just heart-wrenching situations. And the only way that I was able to do this and not lose myself in the process, and I'll be real with you guys, I'll be very honest, I've had seasons of just deep grief and deep addiction and getting stoned every day, morning, noon, and night, drinking, partying, all the things. And there was a time where I was addicted to pills. There was a time where I was taking gabapentin all the time to just numb my pain. There was a time where I was smoking a lot of weed, and I mean a lot. And I was just completely checked out. And it was anything I could do to just get through the day. Um, you know, whatever. And I was still functioning. I was still working a job. I was still working my business. I've always, for like 12 years now, maybe even 13, I've had a business. It wasn't Morning Moon, but I've had a health coaching business. And I have somehow been able to create a business, anchor into my health foundations and work a job, like a 9 to 5 job, and not, lose myself in the process. And the only way I was ever able to do this was by anchoring into my wellness foundations and by taking care of myself, taking care of my physical self. And we're always growing and changing and learning and growing. Um, and now this looks a little different for me of the next level. I'm learning all about energetics and frequency now, and I'm leaning into my spirituality, and I'm leaning into my relationship with Jesus, and I'm leaning into my wellness foundations, but I'm adding components as I go along because our growth is never finished. If you think you're finished, you need to take a look again because we are always learning and growing. So, the purpose of this show is to come on and give a good word and give some good advice on how you can navigate the storms of life. So, that being said, today we're going to talk about how to do the things that you don't feel like doing so that you can be great. Because as David Goggins says, if we can do the things that we don't want to do, on the other side is greatness. And that is so, so true. You know, some of us aren't where we want to be yet, but we're on our way. And just doing the thing is is moving you forward. But if we neglect to do the things that take us to where we want to be, then we're going to be in the same spot, this time next year. And September is coming in hot. There's new routines, new responsibilities. Kids are going back to school, business is getting back, ramping back up. And there's a million things that are pulling us in different directions, especially if you have teenagers. If you have teenagers, I want to give a special shout out to you and some extra love because mama, teenagers are hard. They are hard, and young adults are hard, and they're starting to develop who they are, what they want in life, and they buck the system, and it becomes you get lost in them, and as a stepmother, if you are a step parent, you have a really difficult role, and you have a different role to fulfill than just a regular parent. You become a mentor, and taking that on can be a lot because the kids they won't appreciate you. They won't see it until later on in life when they have their own children or maybe become step parents themselves, or foster parents, adoptive parents, whatever. They won't understand what you really did for their life until they're older, and that's okay. And that's something that I have had to sit with, and that is why I put the show on pause, because I've always wanted to be a mom. Like, I've always wanted to be a mom, and I've never been able to have my own children, my own biological children, and that has been a mental strain on me, and that has been a heartbreak for me that I have had to break in private, and I have had to accept in private, and I have had to walk through this on my own because I'm waiting on God's time and I am living out God's purpose for my life because our life is not our own. We are merely the storytellers. We are not the author. Sure, we can make choices that open up different realms of possibility for ourselves, but our lives are not our own. We did not create ourselves. And if you're watching me, I always like to preface this with, I was once really deep into the New Age. Before that, I was a Satanist. I grew up in a Christian family, and I have now circled back around. And, I'm a Christian now. And while I still, practice energetics and I still have reverence for Mother Earth, I don't any longer practice things like dark magic or candle magic, whatever. I don't mess with the dark forces because I've seen the darkness and what real darkness is. And if you're new to me, you don't know my story, but I used to do predator hunting online, and I've seen some pretty dark things. And um, I it made me realize that God is real, because if that sort of evil is present, then the counter has to be. Otherwise, we are really, really screwed. We are in big, 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 big trouble if there is no God. We're in big trouble. And so for me, anchoring in to my wellness foundations and anchoring into my relationship with God and with Jesus Christ and surrendering to something bigger than myself has been pivotal for my growth. And I still practice a lot of things that people consider new age, and I don't really care what people think because I believe in frequencies and energetics, and I believe that there are other spirits, and I don't fuck with the other spirits. But I do um, make sure that my energy is in check, and I am very conscious of my frequency, and that's a very new thing for me, to be very conscious of my own frequency because I'm typically very abrasive, and I like to say what say what I feel, and I like to tell it like it is, and that's the staple of one of the cornerstones of who I am. But I'm learning to do that more with love, right? And my foundations, my wellness foundations have kept me going and have kept me they've kept me alive. They've kept me from taking my own life. I've tried. After my brother died and after my uncle died, I was a broken woman. I experienced such depression that I had a moment where I tried to take my own life, and I lived through it. And um not a lot of people know that, but now all you know that. And it was a hard season for me. I was struggling. And so God has a purpose for me and a purpose and a calling on my life. There is a divine design, and I want to be able to bring forward to you that there's a purpose for your life, and there's divine design. And what is your dream? The entire reason I do what I do is so that I can help people build their dreams. But in order to live your dreams and build your dreams, you have to have a foundation of wellness. Your business will fail. It maybe not fail, but your business will be very difficult if you don't have a wellness foundation. And finding your purpose and living your dream is going to be damn near impossible if you don't have these wellness foundations. If your foundations are not anchored in mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, you might just get wiped out. Like, you might just get wiped out, or you might try to punch your own ticket. And so that's why I show up, and that's why I started this show, was to speak to the people who were having a difficult time, people who were trying to get through life and just didn't know how to get through the seasons of chaos, because chaos will always come, right? That overwhelm that you feel creeping in, that little voice that's telling you that you can't do this, all those things, that is not you being weak. It's not just depression. It's not just, clinical depression that can be given a pill and hushed away. That is your body saying to you, hey, hey, we need a system for this. We need a foundation. You don't have your wellness foundations in place. And that's not just about food. Yes, yes. We want to focus on our nourishment and how we nourish our bodies in water, drinking our water and getting enough sleep, and um, those types of things, the physical things. That is how we anchor in. But we also want to focus on our mindset. What are we listening to? What are we reading? What are we saying? Those things are equally as important as what you're eating, what you're drinking, how you're sleeping. If you are, watching TV, if you're watching Netflix all the time and listening to music all the time, those things, I'm not saying that TV and music is bad. I love TV and music. I love movies and music. I love them. But they implant a subconscious imprint on your body and your brain and in your mind that don't help you move any further because it's lost to the chaos. And so one of the things that really helped me through all of the grief, all of the trauma, all of the turmoil was listening to positive reinforcement and motivational speakers like Tony Robbins and Les Brown. That's what got me started. Now I listen to like Ed Milet, David Goggins, Jocko Willink. Those are the people I listen to now, and Melanie Ann Lair, you know, Joyce Meyer. I listen to things that nourish my mind, because if you are not inputting your mind with that good, solid foundation of motivation and inspiration, where will you draw it from? You will have nowhere to draw it from, right? And that is how you truly anchor in, and that is how you truly make a change. So that is, that again is why I keep showing up with this show, because I want to be able, if this is the only thing you listen to in your day that is inspirational, motivational, giving a good word, then let that be a starting point. Let that be a starting point. You don't want to, just listen to motivational and inspirational content, or read motivational and inspirational content, or spiritual content when it's convenient. You want to do it all the time, but especially when everything feels like it's falling apart, especially when you don't feel like it. Jocko has a mantra that I absolutely love. All excuses are lies. And it's so true, because we give ourselves these excuses, and sure, they sound reasonable, and sure, they sound like, it's a good excuse. It's a good reason. I have a good reason not to do this. I don't like it because it's corny. Is that true, that you don't like it because it's corny, or is it just you being lazy and not wanting to turn on the thing because your pride will get in your own way? Because you don't actually want to have a change. You would rather just stay comfortable. Because if you're comfortable, when you're comfortable, nothing ever changes. It might change over the long term if you're doing the little things, but the only way, especially if you're an entrepreneur and a business owner, and you have a big dream, if you have big dreams like me, you gotta hustle. You gotta hustle. You gotta build that business, and you also gotta build those wellness foundations. You can't just let your wellness be lost to the ether because you're working on your business. So it's like the same thing as spending time with your family. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right? That's why we anchor in. That is why we anchor in. And if you want to thrive this season, and the next season, and the next season, and the next season, then you have to start acting like your life matters. You have to start acting like your wellness matters. You have to start preparing. You have to play the game. You have to play the game. You can't just be checked out. And it's so easy that if you have a busy schedule, if you're driving kids around, or you're going to a 9 to 5, and you're working a side hustle, it is so easy at the end of the day to just let it all go, check out, watch Netflix, eat some ice cream, and chill. You know, Smoke some weed, drink some cocktails, whatever. It's so easy. Drink some wine, get in that bottom of the wine bottle. I'm telling you, because I've been there. I'm telling you because I have lived that life. I have worked a 9 to 5 job and had my business on the side while trying to take care of my family, and self-medicating with marijuana all day long, and then drinking some wine when I'm done, and eating some ice cream. And I lost myself there. And the only way that I was able to find myself again, brick by brick by brick, was by anchoring in. That anchoring in, it comes from, I say that because every time I think of anchoring in, I think of the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock, where her carabiner breaks, and she's working on the space station, and her carabiner breaks, and she gets lost to outer space, and she just starts spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And then at one point she stops. Everything's calm. You don't want to get lost to anti-gravity. You don't want to get lost to your bullshit. You want to anchor in. You want to make sure that you have a hard line tethered so that you don't lose yourself in the process. Because if you lose yourself in that spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, it takes a lot of hard work to get back, or even get to the beginning of having a good foundation, you know? So start showing up for yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. It does. We get one shot to live this life. One shot. We get one shot to do the things that we dream of doing. And if you want to be the person that you're dreaming of being and do the things that you're dreaming of doing, you have to do things that you don't feel like doing. You have to do the things that don't make sense. You have to do the things that are unreasonable to other people. People aren't going to understand you if you're someone that shows up for yourself. You got to become the person that you never thought that you could be, you know? And you don't just anchor in and rise when life is easy. You don't just like, "Oh, life is easy now, so now I'm going to work on my stuff." No, that doesn't work. You rise and you shine when you have trained. When you have trained for the hard. You have trained in the shit and you don't feel like it. The people that really make it are the people that relentlessly go after their dreams and relentlessly take care of themselves, and they show up and they do what they don't want to do. If your body's contracting, "Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, that feels hard." Good. You need to be in the hard. You need to be in the hard. You can only build something beautiful if you work those muscles, anchoring in. Anchoring in. What is anchoring in, right? What is anchoring in? Anchoring is what are you eating? Are you nourishing your body with nutrient dense foods, protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, that sort of thing, whole foods, whole foods. You need at least 100 to 120 grams of protein a day. Most people only get 30. It's insane. It's insane, right? Movement. Motion changes emotion. If you're feeling like crap, go move your body. Go move your body. Go run. Go walk. Go lift weights. Go do yoga. Go do some qigong or tai chi. Move your body because motion changes emotion, and that will get you into a different state of mind, right? And move your body every day. Don't just move your body 3 days a week. That's insane. We were not meant to just be sedentary. Move your body every single day, whether it's just going on a walk, whether it's just, going outside for a bit. Feel the fresh air. Feel the sun on your face, breathe in that fresh air. You know, like move your body. And what are you listening to? What are you putting back into your mind? Are you listening to music and Netflix all day? Shift it up. Get yourself some earbuds, connect it to your phone, turn on YouTube and start listening to motivational content. That is literally how I rewired my brain from being in a super depressed state where I wanted to kill myself to being the person I am today. I couldn't have done it without Tony Robbins. I couldn't have done it without Les Brown. I wouldn't be who I am today if I wasn't listening to David Goggins. I couldn't be who I am today if I wasn't doing these things. I would be way more depressed. I was a super depressed teenager, and it was a self-reinforcing loop because I didn't listen to nourishing content that helped me to rewire my brain to help me get out of my own head. What are you grateful for? Count your blessings. There are people in other countries who literally don't have water or a toilet or a bed to sleep on. If you live in America, you better count your blessings. Count your blessings. What do you have that you should feel very blessed for? Running water is a huge one. Stay hydrated. Drink enough water, because if you're dehydrated, that will put you down in the dirt. How are you sleeping? Get some sleep. Make sure that you're getting some sleep, right? And then what are you speaking? What words are you speaking to yourself and to others? Are you super negative and all you have to say is something rude or something, dark? Watch your words. Your words create realities. So anchor in, anchor in. And how do you want to show up in the world? Ask yourself that. How do you want to show up in the world? One of my old mentors, she used to ask me that, how do you want to show up in the world? And she had a really great mantra. Dr. Allegra, she had a really, really great mantra. And it was one bite, one breath, one step at a time. And I've held on to that and I've taken it with me. All we have is today. And if all you do today is work on one of your wellness foundations, that's enough. That's okay. At least you're working on it. Do something for yourself and then show up for others. It's not all about you. Not everything is about you. Yes, we want to anchor in with the wellness foundations, but I would like to say that adding in to service for others and surrendering to something bigger than yourself, those are really important. Because if you're a business and you're not in service for others, you're not doing this for someone else, you're only doing it for yourself. And if you're doing it for yourself, then that's going to be a fruitless endeavor, you know? So if you're actively strengthening your wellness foundations, I am telling you that when chaos ensues and you feel like you just can't do one more thing, you can. You can push through. You can do one more rep. You can do one more thing. You can read one more, inspirational book. You can do one more thing. You can do it, you know. When chaos ensues, it literally exposes every crack in your system, and then you get lost to it. And some people love the drama, especially if the young people, teenagers, they love the drama. They thrive off the drama. If they don't have a problem with, you know, they have to have a problem with something. They always have to have a problem, right? Most of them, in my experience, they always have to have some problem with someone. Last week I was the problem. This week it's someone else. You know. But the good news is you can build a new foundation, and you can reset, and you can rise, and you can shine, and you can come be renewed. You can be renewed. You can be renewed. It is totally possible. Totally possible. And you don't need a pill. You don't need another pill to help numb you out. You don't need a substance. You don't need to get stoned all day. If you let your feelings dictate your follow through, you're never going to get anything done. Feelings are a good metric, but they're also fleeting and they also lie. Like feelings, having a gut feeling about something is one thing, but if you're feeling like, "Oh, I don't feel like doing this," or "I don't want to," or whatever, that is just that's just a lie. It's just another excuse. It is just preventing you from actually living out your purpose. So, this is your wake up call. This is the line, the line in the sand. School's starting for some of you. It already started, and then it is starting here on, I think, Tuesday. Mamas, get ready. Stop with the excuses. You can take care of yourself. You don't just have to take care of them. Yes, you need to take care of them, but you also need to take care of yourself, because what happens when that kid flies the roost? You're just left to whatever mess that you have ignored for the last 18 years. Yeah. Yeah. I got a taste of that as a step parent. I got a taste of that. That's why I took a few weeks off, because I lost myself in someone else, and you can't do that even if they're your blood child. You just can't do that. You have to make time for yourself. You have to make time to strengthen your wellness foundations. And if you don't know where to start, good news. Good news, everyone. I do have Health at Home. I created Health at Home to be that place for you guys to work on your wellness foundations. I have an accountability call every Sunday at 3 p.m. And this show is not a pitch for that, but I want you to know that this is a resource for you. I created it for you. I didn't create it for me. I tried to keep it low cost. I tried to keep it reasonable time on the weekend so that mamas and busy professionals, entrepreneurs, whatever, I don't care what you do, but it needs to be a place for women to come and get a little bit of accountability and say, "Hey, I really want to work on eating better," or "Hey, I really want to work on my movement. Hey, I really want to work on my sleep. Hey, I really want to work on my motivational, listening to motivational content." Or just come and tell me tell me what's going on. Tell me the struggle. Let it out. Some people don't even tell anybody what's going on in their life. It's a safe place to do that. That's why I created it. It's also a great resource to learn new recipes and then whatever, all the things. But really it's a place that you can anchor in and, verbally express what it is you're wanting to work towards. And have someone hold you accountable that next week and say, "Hey, did you eat clean this week? Hey, did you make time for your movement this week?" Sometimes we all need a little accountability, and that is why I created Health at Home. So, ladies, join me. It's 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time every Sunday. If you want the link, send me a DM. Love to have you. You don't need to wait for yourself to feel like it. Okay. That's never going to happen. Like, it's not going to, you'll have days where you feel like it, right? You'll have those days where I'm feeling great and I'm feeling saucy. And then you'll, next, it'll come back next week and you'll be like, dang, I only got, one workout in or whatever. You have to do the hard things when you don't feel like doing it because that is what makes the difference. That is what turns us into the people that we want to be, right? And you don't have to feel ashamed if you haven't made a priority. You just have to recognize, okay, it's all right. I can show up for myself now. You haven't been showing up for yourself then. It's okay. So, you know, anchor in. Anchor into your wellness foundations. You're not going to drift your way into discipline. You have to create that structure and create that foundation. Okay? So this school year, make yourself a priority. And that way you could rise and shine. I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope that you are fulfilled in every dream so that you can rise and shine. And with that, I will see if we have any questions. If you guys have questions, anything you want to say, there is a comment thing. I am looking at it. If you want to say something, you certainly can. I would love to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, send me a DM if you want to join Health at Home. I would love to have you guys. We have some wonderful ladies in there. I have a lot of teachers, which is really cool. And I love that. I love that the teachers are working on their wellness foundations for themselves and for others, because that is how we create a ripple effect of generational change, is by leading by example, right? We have to lead by example. Nobody's perfect. You're not gonna, get it right every single day. But if we work on it every day, a little bit, something, one thing, that is how we create that generational ripple effect of change. All right, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day. I'm off to church, and I hope to see you again soon. Ciao. If you want to watch the replay, it will be on YouTube. All right. Peace out. You do.